The seat vibrated beneath me as our jet carved through the restless skies somewhere high over the North Atlantic. I was lost in deep sleep in seat 8A, forehead pressed against the icy window. No one noticed me. No one had the slightest clue who I really was. Then the captain's voice sliced through the cabin like a thunderclap, every word laced with raw, controlled terror. Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone on this flight has ever piloted military aircraft in actual combat conditions, I need you forward, right now, please. My eyes snapped open. In that frozen heartbeat, this single dad knew the promise I'd whispered to my little girl Lily was about to be dragged into the fire. The cabin lights glowed that strange blue-gray, the kind that tricks your body into thinking it's night even at 37,000 feet. Most passengers slept on, heads lolled at awkward angles. A businessman across the aisle snored softly. 2 rows back, a young couple shared earbuds, their faces flickering in the glow of a tablet. I occupied 8A like a shadow. Average height, average build, gray hoodie, 3-day stubble, clothes straight off the discount rack. Nothing about me screamed capable. I looked exactly like every other exhausted father on every other red-eye. My phone sat in the seat pocket, screen black. The last thing I'd done before takeoff was replay Lily's voice message from the gate. "Daddy, Aunt Brooke says Iceland has volcanoes and glaciers at the same time. That's so weird. Are you gonna see any? I packed your toothbrush in the blue pocket. You forgot last time. I miss you already. Come home safe, okay? Love you." 12 seconds. 12 seconds that held my entire world. I'd made this trip too many times. Seattle to Reykjavik, back in 72 hours door to door. Lily stayed with Brooke, who lived 2 blocks away and loved her like her own. The consulting work paid the bills. It had to. Single dads don't get perfect options. I drifted off somewhere over Canada, engine hum and bone-deep exhaustion pulling me under. Then the turbulence woke me. Not violent, just enough to rattle the ice and abandon cups. Old instincts flared before I even opened my eyes. Cabin pressure, vibration patterns, air temperature. Muscle memory that refused to die. I reached for my water bottle when Captain Hayes' voice cut through again, stripped of every ounce of calm. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Hayes. We have a serious technical situation. I need anyone aboard with military combat aviation experience to identify yourself to a flight attendant immediately." The cabin erupted. Heads jerked up. A woman 3 rows ahead let out a wounded gasp. Someone whispered, "Oh God." The businessman across from me bolted awake. What the hell is happening? Flight attendants moved fast but controlled, faces professionally blank, hands white-knuckled. The senior attendant, silver hair, 40 years of steel in her spine, spoke evenly. "Please remain calm. We're looking for very specific qualifications. If that's not you, the best help is staying seated." A man in row 14 stood. "I flew helicopters, Army National Guard, 2 tours, thousands of hours." The attendant guided him forward gently. "This is a wide-body jet, sir. The systems are—" "I can figure it out," he insisted, pushing past his neighbor. "Let me talk to the captain." I watched with cold precision. Good man. Brave. Completely wrong aircraft. He'd be back in 3 minutes, crushed. He was. Face ashen, eyes on the floor, he slumped into his seat without a word. The attendants kept searching. Whispers turned to quiet sobs. Armrests were gripped like lifelines. My mind raced through every possible failure, both pilots down, hydraulic collapse. The captain wouldn't broadcast unless the situation was desperate. I thought of Lily, of the promise I'd made 3 years ago in that pouring rain at Lauren's graveside. Brooke holding the umbrella, my daughter's tiny hand in mine. I swore I was done with the sky, done risking everything, done being the man who flew toward danger while the people I loved waited and wondered. I'd buried that version of myself so deep I almost believed he was gone. The speakers crackled again. Captain Hayes' voice cracked at the edges. "We need someone immediately, please." I stared at my reflection in the dark glass. Ordinary man, ordinary life. My hand moved before my brain caught up and pressed the call button. Memories slammed into me like afterburners igniting. 19 years old, drill sergeant screaming 6 inches from my face. 22 night carrier landings in a simulator that cost more than my childhood home. 25. Combat air patrol over a desert that looked like Mars, every shadow hiding a missile with my name on it. I'd flown over 4,000 hours in FA-18 Super Hornets, strike missions, reconnaissance, close air support. I'd landed on pitching decks in storms that grounded everyone else. I'd nursed jets home with failing hydraulics, shot up control surfaces, cockpit fires. and I'd loved it with a passion that made the rest of life feel like background noise. Then I met Lauren, bright-eyed architect who actually listened when I talked about flying. We married fast. Lily arrived 2 years later, tiny, perfect, terrifyingly fragile. Lauren never asked me to quit. She understood the math of risk until the math took her. A delivery truck ran a red light on a Tuesday. I was somewhere over the Pacific, unreachable. By the time I landed, my daughter had already spent 4 hours asking strangers where mommy was. I held Lily in that hospital corridor while she sobbed, and something inside me shattered forever. I resigned my commission the next month, walked away from the only thing I'd ever been born to do. Used the GI Bill, became a consultant, built a quiet life with a backyard where Lily could play, and I could watch from the kitchen window. Safe, present, predictable. Lily would never stand in a corridor wondering if her only parent was coming home. That was the deal. That was the promise. But tonight, 37,000 feet above the Atlantic, that promise was burning in my hands like live ordnance. The younger flight attendant appeared instantly. Dark hair in a tight bun, eyes wide with exhaustion. I stood. I have military aviation experience, combat conditions. She scanned me, hoodie, stubble, discount store everything, and doubt flashed across her face. What aircraft? FA-18 Super Hornet, carrier ops, 4,000 hours including combat. Her hesitation stretched. The helicopter pilot had already failed. Time was bleeding out. I spoke the only language that mattered. Triple redundant hydraulics, green, blue, yellow. Lose 2, you're on 1/3 pressure, degraded response, higher stall speed, autopilot gone, that's why you need me. Her eyes changed. A woman in row 6 stood, Dr. Nora Ellis, medical badge gleaming. He's speaking from experience, not theory. Let him try. The walk down the aisle felt eternal. Passengers stared, hope, fear, disbelief. In first class, a late 60s man in an expensive suit locked eyes with me. You'd better know what you're doing. I didn't answer. No energy for reassurance. At the cockpit door, Colonel Harlan West, retired Air Force Tanker Command, blocked my path like a man who still wore stars on his shoulders. Hold on, I'm not letting an unknown passenger walk in there blind. Convince me. I met his stare. Test me, Colonel. He fired questions like flares. I answered without hesitation. Bolter procedures, dead reckoning, hydraulic failure protocols. Each answer landed like a precision strike. After 3 heartbeats of silence, he stepped aside. Good luck, Lieutenant Commander. I crossed the threshold and the cockpit hit me like a wall. Smell of hydraulic fluid, hot electronics, and blood. Captain Hayes slumped in the left seat, arm bandaged, face gray. First Officer Jordan Hale gripped the yoke, sweat soaking his shirt. I spoke clearly. Cole Bennett, former naval aviator, 4,000 hours, carrier qualified. I can help. Jordan didn't look away from the instruments. Can you fly this? Captain Hayes winced. Bird strike. Took out the number 2 engine and the green hydraulics. Then I had whatever this is, cardiac. Jordan's been solo. Now yellow's bleeding too. I scanned the panels. Blue system still nominal but straining. Not a leak, pump failure, overcompensating. 20, maybe 30 minutes before cascade. Jordan's jaw tightened. We're 90 minutes from Reykjavik. I leaned in. We're not going to Reykjavik. Nearest suitable is Akureyri. NATO base, 10,000-foot runway, 45 minutes out. Can we make it if blue holds? Jordan looked at me then, eyes carrying the weight of 200 souls. I've never hand-flown degraded like this. I have, I said. Small inputs, patient hands. The aircraft wants to fly, we just remind it. I strapped into the jump seat, pulled on the headset, and felt the old cathedral of the cockpit settle around me. Declare emergency. Direct routing to Akureyri. Maximum priority. As Jordan keyed the mic, I felt the blue pressure gauge quiver. Just a tremor. But I knew. The pump was screaming. Then, the senior attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. Cockpit! We've got a passenger demanding to speak with whoever's flying. He's riling people up. I closed my eyes. Of course. Because physics wasn't enough, we needed human chaos too. I unstrapped. I'll handle it. 2 minutes. In the cabin, a mid-40s man in an expensive watch, Brock Lang, pointed at me, face red. That's the guy who claims he can fly us. I want proof. I have a family. I deserve to know who's holding my life. The cabin held its breath. Dr. Nora Ellis rose, voice calm as an ER on a bad night. I verified him myself through the emergency database. Lieutenant Commander Cole Bennett, United States Navy, decorated. Everything he said is true. She was lying through her teeth. I knew it. She knew it. But the cabin needed belief more than truth. Brock sat down. Fight gone. Dr. Ellis met my eyes. Go land this plane, Lieutenant Commander. Back in the cockpit, 8 minutes out, blue hydraulics at 87% and falling. Crosswind 15 knots, gusting 22. Jordan's voice cracked. "We can't wait it out." I studied the runway. Then we come in hot and committed. Old carrier technique, fast, flat, main gear first, one chance, no go around. We're not asking physics for permission tonight. Jordan stared at me. "This isn't in any manual." I put my hand on his seat. "No, but it works, and right now, manuals don't matter. People do." He swallowed. "Talk me through it." We configured, gear down, flaps 20, target 170 knots. The airport lights grew like a promise in the dark. The senior attendant's voice came over the PA, steady and final. "Ladies and gentlemen, brace for impact." I thought of Lily's sleepy voice on the phone at 3 a.m. Seattle time. I whispered it like a prayer only the sky could hear. "I'm coming home, baby. Daddy promised, and I keep my promises." The runway rushed up. Crosswind tried to shove us sideways. Hydraulics screamed. At 50 feet, I called it. "Kick out the crab, now!" Jordan stamped the rudder. The nose snapped straight. Main gear slammed down, hard, teeth rattling, perfect. Nose gear followed with a bang that echoed through every soul aboard. Thrust reversers roared, brakes went to the floor, spoilers deployed manually. The jet shuddered, fighting to stop. 312 feet of runway left when we rolled to a halt. Silence. Then the cabin exploded. Cheers, sobs, applause that shook the fuselage. 173 people who had stared death in the face and lived. I unbuckled. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jordan turned to me, eyes wet. "We did it." I gripped his shoulder. "You flew that approach like a warrior. Never forget that." Paramedics took Captain Hayes. Passengers lined up. Handshakes, hugs, an elderly woman kissing my cheek and calling me an angel. Colonel Harlan West approached last. "I owe you an apology," he said, voice thick. "When I saw you walking down that aisle, I saw an ordinary man. I was wrong. You're the reason we're alive." I shook his hand, military firm. "You were doing your job, Colonel. I would have done the same." Later, alone in the forward galley, I powered on my phone. Brooke answered on the second ring. Moments later, Lily's sleepy voice filled my ear. "Daddy, why are you calling?" I closed my eyes, tears finally breaking free. "I just needed to hear you, sweetheart. I love you, and I'm coming home, just like I promised." She yawned. "Love you too, Daddy. Can I go back to sleep now?" "Yeah, baby. Sleep tight. I'll see you soon." I ended the call and stood in the quiet wreckage of the emergency. Abandoned cups, discarded blankets, the beautiful mess of survival. Something inside me had shifted. I'd kept my promise to Lily, but I'd also remembered the man I used to be, the one who belonged in the sky. Maybe, just maybe, I could be both. Father and pilot. Promise keeper and skywalker. I opened the notes app on my phone and typed 4 words that felt like a new beginning. "I can help." Morning would come soon enough, a flight home, a daughter waiting, a life suddenly wide open with impossible possibilities. The man who fell asleep in seat 8A was gone. Cole Bennett was wide awake now, and for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of the sky. I never imagined the sky would call my name again in such a terrifying way. I was just an ordinary single dad, half asleep in seat 8A when Captain Hayes' voice cracked through the speakers like thunder. "If anyone on this flight has ever flown combat missions, please, we need you right now." My heart slammed against my ribs. Without thinking, my finger pressed the call button. In that moment, Lily's voice filled my soul like a lifeline. "Daddy, come home safe, okay? I love you so much." Tears stung my eyes as I whispered into the darkness, my voice breaking. "I'm coming home to you, baby. Daddy made a promise, and I'm going to keep it no matter what storms we face." That terrifying night taught me the deepest lesson I've ever learned about love and courage. After losing my wife, I buried the pilot inside me completely. I chose safety, quiet consulting jobs, and backyard moments because I believed being a good father meant never risking my daughter's heart again. I thought I had to kill one version of myself to save the other. But up there, when that plane was failing and 200 lives hung by a thread, I finally understood something profound and beautiful that still brings tears to my eyes. The greatest way to love your child isn't always by hiding who you truly are. Sometimes it's having the courage to bring your full self forward when the people who need you most are counting on you. I didn't just land that broken jet with my hands. I flew it home with every ounce of love I carry for Lily in my shattered heart. When I called her afterward and heard her sleepy voice say, "I knew you'd come back to me, Daddy," I completely broke down. "Yes, sweetheart," I choked out through sobs. "Daddy's coming home. I promised you." That night taught me this: you never have to choose between being the father your children need and the man you were born to be. The parts of yourself you buried can become the very wings that carry everyone safely home. If this story moved you to tears or stirred something deep in your soul, tell me honestly in the comments. What part of yourself have you buried out of love? Share your truth. I read every single one. And if you want more powerful emotional stories that heal the heart and remind us what truly matters, hit subscribe right now and join our family. Turn on notifications so you never miss one. Let's keep reminding each other that real heroes are often just ordinary dads trying their best. I'll see you in the next story.